This multifunctional gimbal may not change the game, but it will make it better. Hohem are here with the MT2 gimbal, which can stabilize your mirrorless camera and track you without the need of a smartphone app and complicated setups, so let's inspect. The thing I'm about to show you now has always been among the most wanted features I've asked from a gimbal. Over here, we have a very small AI module which has the capacity of recognizing a gesture and automatically tracking you without the need of connecting a smartphone, an app, cables and so on. Just plug and play, do the gesture, and it's gonna track you. That's the brand new mirrorless camera gimbal by Hohem, called the MT2. That's going to be a thorough review showing all its strong and weak sides. Let's dive into it. Hohem have just announced the MT2 gimbal, a stabilizer which is good for mirrorless cameras, smartphones and action cameras. Since it's a hybrid device, expectation is that mostly content creators are going to be attracted, especially those that often work alone and may need some more realism in the scenes recorded. Hohem Tech are as usual very aggressive about pricing, and if you prefer the MT2 over the competition, you may end up with some money left to buy another basic lens or a high-quality neck strap or ND filters, for instance. Unboxing, and this is the best part. A few weeks ago, I was informed that there's a new gimbal arriving, but I never thought it's gonna be such a tiny box and rather lightweight. There's a carrying case inside, hooray! As a reference, a good one for my favorite DJI RS3 made me spend about €50. Here, you get it for free. This is the gimbal. Quality feels great at the first sight. Control joystick, not as satisfying as these joysticks on DJI Ronin series, but it's still fun to use. There's a display, a few control buttons, motor lock mechanisms, a couple of quarter-inch mount threads. No remarks so far. From the accessories, we have a bunch of them, a lot of cables. They guarantee compatibility with a wide variety of cameras, but please double-check whether your particular model is supported on Hohem's website. A basic tripod is included, a mounting plate, there's the L bracket for the big cameras, and the AI module which enables the tracking. Putting the gimbal together is a no-brainer, and the time you're gonna spend up until you're recording ready is short, maybe shorter than any other mirrorless camera gimbal with exception for you know who. Now, before we go ahead and talk about the footage and the functions, let's see what kind of specs we count on so that we have the right expectations. The capable motors guarantee solid 3-axis stabilization. Maximum payload is up to 1.2 kilograms. There's a 2600 mAh battery for up to 17 hours operation time. Various stabilizing modes, supplementary magnetic AI tracker, the iSteady 7.0 anti-shake algorithm, a 0.91-inch LCD screen, and ability to handle different devices. All of that assembled and packed weighs around 776 grams. The specs are good, probably too temptingly good, and Hohem advertised this gimbal as something which is suitable for entry-level mirrorless cameras, something I'm not fully in agreement with, because that over here is the Sony ZV-E1. It's a full-frame mirrorless camera which can challenge some high-end or mid-range cameras quite easily, and I even have placed quite a big lens. That's the Tamron 2875, and you can see that the balance is just fine. With the kit lens, it's gonna work even better. The maximum payload is 1.2 kilograms, which is not that much, but enough, especially if you have a rather compact-sized mirrorless camera like the Sony a7 III, the a7C, maybe a7 IV, and anything which is APS-C and lighter than that is going to be an even better match. I can't say much about comparison to the DJI RS3 Mini, but if I compare it to the Moza Aircross S, in terms of balancing and setup, I would say this feels better. What differs it from the high-end gimbals, besides the payload of course, is the fact that it doesn't have any auto-lock mechanism and no ability for wireless control and connection from the gimbal itself. And now, after putting all these technical specifications aside, I think it's time for testing. Balancing the camera is crucial. Never underestimate this part, especially with mirrorless cameras. Each one of the camera axes can be well adjusted and further modified, and you can memorize your most commonly used settings. Don't forget that these values are always different with different sizes and types of lenses. ZV-E1 fits best with a shorter lens due to the balance. I've tried the 2875 by Tamron on purpose because it pushes the motors to the limits and it works quite fine. Some errors about motor overload might appear under certain conditions though. The stabilization algorithm is excellent and switching between the different modes was super easy, just as it has always been with the Hohem-made gimbals. The essence is of course the ability to track without the need to make complicated connections to a smartphone app. Just add this little module, do the gesture, and game on. A few months ago, when testing the M6, I so much wanted to see this feature with a mirrorless camera gimbal, and now it's a fact. If you care about the shooting modes, let me show you what we can count on. Pan follow is the default one and is locking the roll and the tilt axis follows your panning movements. Know that if you do this quickly with a mirrorless camera, you may notice the so-called rolling shutter effect, which has nothing to do with the gimbal stabilization. Then there's the pan tilt follow, where also the tilt axis is following your hand's movements. Then the all lock mode and the POV. All of these are standard modes, just as the Inception feature, which has become a thing a few years ago. There's a trigger button on the opposite side. If you press and hold it, it switches to sport mode and tracking is a lot quicker than the default one. And the double press and hold is the quick switch to all lock modes. If we attach a smartphone, the whole thing suddenly becomes much lighter. It feels like an old generation of a smartphone gimbal, and with the extra powerful motors, I feel that this is a pretty good combination. A big bonus here is that if you rely on the AI tracking originating from the module, you can use your phone's native camera app, and in most cases this is better because it's the one with the best video quality, especially for Android smartphones. Alternatively, you can try the in-app tracking mode if you decide to not buy the AI module combo. As for action cameras, it looks kind of weird due to the size. If any vibrations are notable, go through the calibration, it helps in most cases, or you may try to manually fine-tune the motors via the smartphone app. Honestly, with the GoPro Hero 7 or newer, or DJI Osmo Action Series or Insta360's cameras, I'd only go for a gimbal in case I need super stable footage with ND filters, or try to achieve better results at low light by disabling the electronic stabilization. Speaking of the smartphone app, it has the best integration when your phone is the device to be stabilized, but it can also help with controlling large cameras because of the remote controls. Unfortunately, Hohem didn't manage to bring in a wireless control function, so you have to use a cable in order to remotely control the shutter of a mirrorless camera. Turning to the next page, let's talk about the drawbacks. I think there are a few minor of them. The tripod is, in my opinion, too small. Be extra careful, especially with cameras that have big lenses. The lack of Bluetooth control for mirrorless cameras, and the lack of auto lock option. I guess these last two are here just because we like them too much with the DJI RS3 series. Bottom line, this is not the most capable mirrorless camera gimbal in the world, although some people might tell you otherwise. But I think this little module, which can automatically track you through a gesture without the need of a smartphone app, is the beginning of a new era where the user experience is going to be the most important for a mirrorless camera gimbal. So really well done by Hohem, and I think that's going to be one of these gimbals I use on a more regular basis. So that's everything about this review, hopefully useful. In case you have questions or you want to share your opinion about the MT2, comments are down below the video. As usual, more information about the product, some ways to support the channel, you can find in the video description area. And thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope it was fun. If mission accomplished and we've covered everything important, please give us a like, subscribe to the channel for more cool tech inspections. And I, Michael, can't wait to see you in the next episode. Bye!